broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Can anyone hear me now? Can I be heard? All right. Oofa. Sorry about that. Thank you, everybody. I'm gonna have to back up a step here. I apologize, but thank you for chiming in on that. Um, what I was saying when you guys couldn't hear me is we are giving away a $100 gift card today. The way that you're going to get that card is by participating in the polls. Most of you already participated in the first poll. I did mention that this is recorded. It will be posted at some point in the future. We'll send you a link for that. And we'll also give away the gift card tomorrow. That'll be done tomorrow. All right. So sorry again. Back to our webinar. So artwork and orders is what we're talking about today, and a better way to handle approvals for those artwork and orders. And as I was mentioning, um, artwork and orders are the lifeblood of your business. You probably, if you really look at what you do in your business, probably 80% of your time, labor, or more is spent managing all of your art and all of your orders. So, reducing the time to get these art and orders done through better approvals saves you labor, saves you money. The second point is it makes your customers happy because you're getting orders out the door faster. And the third one is it allows you to grow your business. So if you're a business that's whatever size you are and you want to grow, the only way you can do that, or one of the better ways you can do that, is by getting orders out faster. It's just more efficient in general. All right, so now let's talk a minute about how most companies do proofing. How you currently do proofing, most of you, is step one, you create a PDF or some other sort of file. Now, this doesn't matter if it's an art or if it's an order, these steps apply for both of those. So, you create some sort of file to send your customer. Then you email that file to your customer. Sometimes those are large files if they're art files. Step three is you then wait. You wait on the customer to respond back via email. Hey, yeah, go ahead. We're ready to go with the order. And then step four, you have to manually manage the entire process. That means everything from storing the approval, customer follow up. For example, if the customer doesn't respond, what do you do? Everything that's involved with the approval process, you have to manage that manually. And we're going to call this the attachment method. So I'm just calling it the attachment method of doing approvals. And that's what most of you are doing. Now, what are the disadvantages? What's the problem with the attachment method? Well, first of all, I'm going to tell you right away, if you're only doing, 20 orders a month, then probably this is not a big deal. You can probably use this attachment method that I'm describing and it'll work fine. The problem is as you are processing more and more orders, and remember, each order could require several art approvals and it could require one or more other approvals. So it's not just a one-to-one relationship. Um, you start to run into problems. Those problems are emailing large files can become a problem. Managing the follow up with customers slows you down. So instead of artists working on art and salespeople getting more business, they're managing this whole approval process. There's poor accountability on the customer side and your side, and that can cost you money if there's a dispute with the order. So if you have an angry customer or there's something about the order they don't like, and you're not really keeping track of what they approved, then they can very easily say to you, "Hey, I didn't get that email. I didn't see that email. It was caught in my spam filter," or whatever. I didn't mean that. I didn't. That's not what I meant. If you say you did it verbally, so you got to be very careful with that because you can lose money if there's a dispute with your customer. And this whole process to manage when you're using the attachment method requires a lot of labor. So again, as your approval volume increases, your labor costs increase, and really the whole process becomes unmanageable. Okay, so now we're going to go to our second poll question. And again, remember, these polls get you an entry into the $100 giveaway. Um, oh, and I just messed up something. So give me 1 second here. All right. So my question is, I'm going to launch it. You'll see it on your screen. How do you currently handle customer approvals? You email them, you fax them, you use some sort of software, like kind of what I'm describing, or you have some other way of doing approvals, or you don't do approvals at all. Some people don't do them at all. So go ahead and chime in. About half of you have already voted. Again, $100. You might get $100 if you answer this question. And I'll share these results with you here in a couple seconds. I'm going to close the poll here in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I'm going to end and share the results here. I see a couple more coming in, so I'll just wait a second. All right. Okay, so there's your results. 70% of you are doing this attachment method that I'm talking about. 30% of you are using some sort of software. The good news is none of you are doing faxes anymore. And that's probably the first time we've done this webinar that people aren't using faxes. But I know it's a dying technology, but uh, that's good to hear. So that's good. But 70% of you are still kind of in this scenario I'm talking about. So now let's get into the demo portion of our presentation. And this is where I'm going to show you kind of a better way that you can manage these approvals. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring up a system here. This is our ShopWorks on-site system. This is our main system that most of our customers use, and it manages your entire business. Obviously, I'm not going to show you the whole software today. We're just going to focus on order and art approvals. So I'm going to bring up an order that I created earlier today. It's for a company I do a lot of business with called DC Special Olympics. And if I bring up the order, I can see the due date. This is about a month out order. It's a big order they do every year. And if I go to the design, you can see there's not a lot of information in the design. And the reason why is because we haven't designed it yet. The customer's told me he wants a certain amount of shirts. He's also told me he wants, it's going to be a screen printed design. He thinks it's going to be about 5 colors on the front, 5 colors on the back. But he wants us to come up with a couple different designs, and then he wants us to present it to them. And then they're going to pick one of the designs. It might end up being less colors, or it might end up being more colors. And then we would adjust price accordingly. So let me show you how we would kind of like manage that process from an approval standpoint. If I look at line items on the order, I can see he's got 2,000 white shirts, 105 athletic or gray shirts, and we got some screen charges and other charges on there. Now, I'm showing you from the perspective of a screen printer, somebody who does screen printing. But if you're somebody who does embroidery or awards or any other kind of embellished product, on-site is going to work for your business as well. I used to own a screen printing and embroidery shop, so when I'm doing demonstrations like this or presentations, I feel more comfortable speaking about apparel. But our system will handle promotional products, it'll handle fulfillment, it'll handle almost any kind of embellished product that someone sells. So just kind of keep that in the back of your mind. It's not just for screen printers and embroiderers. If I look at shipping, I can see we're going to ship this order to 2 different addresses. If I go here to line items, I can see we got some costs on here. Excuse me. And if I go over here to ProofStuff, this is where I can manage the approvals. Now, this is a new order, so there are no approvals for this particular order. So before we get the order started for Steve, I want him to sign off on the order itself, the items that we're ordering, and also where we're shipping it to. I want to make sure we got it right, and I want Steve to sign off on it. Steve's my customer. So I'm going to go over here to this print tab, and let's see here. Sorry, I lost my train of thought here for a second. So I'm going to go over to my print tab, and there's 2 things I want to do. I want to send him. I want to send him what's called a shipping spec. So I'm just going to type in ship in here in this filter box. So I'm going to send him a shipping spec by address. That's going to show him which items are shipping to which address. And now I'm going to go over to proof stuff, or no, I'm going to go back to print, and I want to send him an invoice as well. I'm going to send them an invoice. We have different invoice types with different formats, but I'm just going to send them our basic invoice. And I want them to see the invoice first and then the shipping spec. So what I'm saying to Steve is, I'm going to go over here to proof stuff. I'm saying, Steve, I want you to approve these, that this is the items you want. This is the cost, and here's where we're shipping it to. So I'm going to add a proof, and that's going to launch my little proof window, and I'm going to call it order and shipping approval. Now, I could have multiple documents here. In fact, let me cancel this for a second because I want to do this a different way. So I'm going to go back over here to print, and I'm going to go ahead and print out the invoice, and I'm going to PDF it, and I'm going to call this invoice. And then that's what the invoice looks like. And then I'm going to do the shipping spec. And I'm doing this as two separate things for a reason. You could do it as one document and send it to them, but I'm doing it this way for a reason. It'll make sense here in a minute. I'm gonna send them a shipping spec. Okay, that's what the shipping spec looks like. It says what items are shipping to which location. So these are forms within our system. Now I'm going to go back over to my proof stuff and I'm going to add a proof and I'm going to call this again order and shipping approval. Spell it correctly, but I'm sending him two different items. Now I can actually do a form directly from here, but I've already printed it as a PDF. So I'm just going to add a file and there's our invoice and it shows it on screen. And I'm going to add a file for the second item and we're going to call this shipping. And I'm going to send him a shipping spec. So I'm actually send him two different things. Now, there's different kinds of approvals. I'm going to talk to you about them, and we're going to do a couple in our examples today. So, a single approval means that they're only going to pick one of the items that I present to them. Well, that's not what I want in this case because I want Steve to look at each one of these and make a decision. An absolute approval means he's going to select everything. In other words, he's going to select either everything or nothing. So if I present five different things to him, he's going to accept all five or accept zero. Multiple allows him to accept or decline every single item that's in the approval. Now let's stop and talk for 1 second about what you can put in these little approval boxes. It can really be almost any type of file, JPEGs, PDF documents, all different kinds of files can go in here. Can be approval, can be approved. So it's not just forms that are generated out of the system. It's not just JPEG images, although it can be those things. It's going to be any kind of like PDF document or image type that can be displayed on a screen, and that's what your customer is going to see. Now, you cannot put in it, and you wouldn't want to put in it like Photoshop files or Corel Draw or Illustrator files. Those files are going to be too large, and it's not going to be able to display. It's not going to display on screen in the web browsers. And we do have a published list of which files will work with the system. So we're going to do a multiple because I want to let him either pick or decline either one of these. So I can review who's the proof to, Steve Hawker, that's the customer. I could change this. That's who it's coming from. I am the fictional Jay Markinson. So I can see all the details. I'm going to go ahead and release this proof. It's releasing it. Now, because we're doing a little bit of because I'm recording this webinar, that's going to take longer than it normally would on somebody's system. But it now uploaded the approvals. It's uploading them to the internet because that's how the customer is going to see them. So again, it's normally not this slow if you're using a system, but give it a second here. Okay, so the next thing it's going to do is it's going to bring up a little email dialog box. We're still going to send Steve an email, but there's not going to be any attachments. The email is going to have a link in it. So I'm going to go to stock emails and I'm going to type in the title is going to be approve. I have lots of stock emails. Oops. So we have an order approval. So there's the uh, order approval and it has different information in it. This information fills out dynamically. So I want to put in here my approval link. So this is how it's going to read. Steve, review the following link. And you can make as many of these stock letters as you want. Order and shipping approval. There's the link. Get back to us as soon as possible, etc. You can make this text whatever you want. So I would send that to Steve. I'm not going to send it in the real world, but I would send it to Steve. And you can see my screen is updated because I now have a proof tied to this approval. And I can see here that it has a proof name and all the information is there. Let's say I made a mistake. I didn't actually send it. I made a mistake. I can retire that proof. So I can just retire it. In this case, I want to look at, let's now pretend that we're Steve. So now I'm Steve and I open my email. Again, no attachments. And if I click on this little button, I can see what Steve's going to see. So when Steve clicks on the link in his email, He's going to get Source Logo is our fictional company, and you can brand this for your company. You can also brand these proof instructions. So you can make this say whatever you want. And we can see down here, Steve can see each of these items. He can zoom in on them. He can download them because they're PDF documents. So he can click to download if he wants to save them. And let's say Steve reviews this and he says, okay, remember, I'm Steve. So I say, okay, the shipping looks good. Yes, that's where I want everything to ship to. So I just say, submit that. Okay. And if I decline this one, uh, I can say what I don't like about it. Pricing is not correct. Should be, should be 490 per shirt for our discussion. Now, something I don't have set up here is the signature block. So there's a setting in ProofStuff where we can actually turn on or turn off this signature. Right now it's turned off. If I turn it on, it would also require Steve to actually sign, with a mouse in this case, or if they have a touch screen, they could do that. They can actually sign it. Um, and I'll show you where we would set that up here in a second. So if I click on submit, so he's declined one thing, he's approved another, and now he clicks on the submit button. Oh, sorry, here it is. We do have it on. So he's going to put in his name, Steve Hawker, his email address, steve@dcso.com, and this is where you would sign it. And again, this would work if you have a touch screen or a mouse. So now that he signed it, he clicks on submit. Now, what would happen at this point is because Steve acted on it, I would receive an email notification. Steve would also receive an email notification that he acted on the proof. Now, once you act on a proof, it's kind of locked up. So you can see what happened to it. That link doesn't go away. You can see what happened to it. You can view a proof history. So you can see when things were, what happened on the proof, when it was done. You can see the signature. So you have an accountability on who said what when. You can see what he declined and what he approved. If we switch back to our on-site system, we need to refresh the screen, but we can see it was a partial approval. And so now what I would do is I'd say, okay, partial approval. Why was it partially approved? Well, let me click on it. Okay, here's the, okay, I can see he didn't like the pricing. And remember, I'm also going to get an email with this information. Doesn't like the pricing. Okay, let me go back and adjust that. So I'll go back to line items. Oh, this was supposed to be 490, 490. Um, then I would just go through the cycle again. So I'd go back to print. Now, in this case, I'm going to send him an invoice. I'm going to do it a little bit different way. He's already approved the shipping, so I don't need to send that to him again. Okay, so I'm going to do an invoice. But instead of printing it out and then attaching it, I'm just going to go to proof stuff. I'm going to add another proof. I'm going to say order approval. Okay, all I need to do is add one file, but instead of adding file, I'm going to add a form. And I'm going to insert that invoice. There we go. I'm going to release that. You'll see it's much faster this time. No, still slowed down by the video. We would send him the email. So I'd pick from my stock emails, Steve, and I would recommend that you're actually going to make lots of different stock emails so that it's very easy. You don't have to construct them. But hey, Steve, here's the revised proof, and some other terminology. So I would send that to Steve. I'm skipping that step. And then Steve would open up his email, and what he would see is order approval. Please review the attached order. This one looks a little different. And the reason why is because we sent him a different kind of approval this time. And each approval type has different instructions. Now you can make all the instructions the same for all of them, or you can modify it. It's probably best to modify it. But so he can see here, here's his instructions. Here's his order, and he can see it's 490. Okay, I'm happy with that. That's the right quantities. In this case, he's going to go ahead and approve it. And again, he would type in his name, and he would sign it. So if we go back to our order, refresh the screen, we would see that that's now been approved. And again, people are getting notifications. So I sent it, I'm getting a notification. Steve approved it, he's getting a notification. Something I'm not telling you because I'm making this is all going back and forth very quickly. I'm sending a proof. He's approving it. Well, what if the approval doesn't get approved immediately? What happens then? Well, that's one of the cool things about proof stuff is it helps manage your approvals that have not been done yet. So you can set up the system, and I'll show you where you set it up here in a little bit, but you can set up the proof stuff system so that if a customer is not acting on an approval, you have up to 3 reminder emails you can send them. So I can send them a reminder in 24 hours, 48 hours, and 72 hours, whatever time frame you decide. And the messaging can be increasingly not aggressive, but increasingly urgent so that we need to get your order done. So the first might be a gentle tickler. The second one might be, hey, we really need to get going. And the third email might be more, hey, listen, we're not going to be able to get your order done unless you get us your approval. You can create as many of these approvals as you need. So I kind of showed you how we would do a document approval. Now let's kind of just do a little bit of a design approval. The mechanics work the same. I have a folder here. So we're doing some spec work on this job, meaning we're just going to come up with some designs for Steve and he's going to pick the one he likes. Now, you can see my images here. These are my 3 different designs. Again, these are JPEGs. You can make these whatever you want, and you can make these as simple. Like I have them very simple here, with the fronts, or you can do front and back separately, right? You can do it that way. Or you could do a more complicated PDF. I've seen customers do this where they have all kinds of information on the outside border of the images. There's lots of ways you can do this. And that's the great thing about proof stuff. It's flexible. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add another proof to Steve. And this is going to be my initial design. So my artist has come up with some designs, and my artist is, or myself, whoever, is now sending it to Steve. So I'm going to get into his 6 files. Okay. And I'm going to add a file, and I got to navigate to where I have these stored. And I'm going to send him, I'll send him the front first. So we're sending the first one. So that's 1. Then I'm going to add another file here for 2. Then I'm going to add a file here for the third one, the front of design option 2. Number 4, I'm going to do the back. And this one is my third one. So I'm really presenting him with 3 different options. Now I'm going to make this a multiple. Okay, I'm going to let him choose which ones he wants. So this is one way you could do it. Another way I could do it, if I go to add file, notice I have a combination. So it's not likely that he's going to pick the front of one with the back of another. So I could have presented it with just 3 options, each option showing a front and back combo. So again, that's up to you and how you want to present things to your customers. And that can be, customized just however you like to do it. But I'm just going to do it this way just to show you. So I'm sending him 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It's 3 options with a front and back. And you would probably want to label on here front, back, etc. Although you can kind of see it from the images. This is just an example. So I'm going to go ahead and release this. And you know the deal here. It's uploading. Then we're going to send Steve an email. The email is going to have a link in it, not the images. So it's very light, less likely to be caught by spam. Not as many no attachments. And I would have a stock email for design approval. And you can see I have one there. So I have a design approval, order number, dear Steve. Notice how it dynamically filled in all the information. Please review the following link for your design approval. Get back to us as soon as possible, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then I would send that to Steve. Let's refresh this screen. There's the proof. It's still open. We had an order approval. Now there's our design. Let's see what Steve sees. So when Steve gets this one, he can see there's all these different options. So now these are initial designs. So he might say, okay, let's decline this. I don't like this one. Just submitted. He doesn't have it. Nope, it's required. No, decline, no, decline, no. So you can see, obviously, if you had 15 different options, you wouldn't want to present it this way because he'd have to say no 15 different times. Then he wants to approve this one, okay, and then he's going to approve this one, and he's going to submit that. So now, full name, Steve Hocker, and he would sign it. So the cycle is always the same. This has now been acted on. We have recorded his signature, everything about the proof, when he did it. You even have options to record the IP address they used, and other information. So that's just, it gives you a little bit of extra protection if there's some sort of dispute on what's going on, whatever happened with that order. So we're going to flip back to our on-site system and we're going to refresh it. And I can see that was now partially decided. Maybe there were some tweaks I had to make to the order. I could, to the design, I could do that and I could send another final approval. So again, you can do as many of these approvals as you want. And the nice thing about Onsite is it stores all those in here. So you have a history of what happened. You're not losing anything. Now, a couple other tools you have. So that's how an approval works on an order. Approvals can also work on quotes. So if you do a quote for somebody, you want them to sign off on the quote, you can do that. Orders, approvals can also be sent from designs. This is sent from an order. It's design approval on an order. But let's say you didn't want to do an order yet. Let's say you were just doing a design for a customer with no attached order. You could send the approvals directly from the design. And that would typically be done by your art department. Um, you might have different people be sending proofs for different reasons, and of course, you can do that as well. Another nice thing about Proof Stuff is we have a tool in here, a little tool down here called the Proof Stuff tool. And if I bring that up, that's looking at this is looking at proofs across all of our different orders. So I can look at my open ones, I can look at my approved ones. So you can see there's the one that was approved today. If I want to look at open proofs, this is all open proofs across all orders. We only have 3 open, and I can view those from here. I can retire them if I needed to, or I just click on it. Like, let's look at this one for universal printing. Why have they not approved it yet? I can go and look at it and see what it is, see what the customer sees. Tim's my contact. I could contact them. Hey, why haven't you followed up on this proof? So there's tools in the system to help you manage these proofs as well. Excuse me. Okay, let me close some of these tabs. Excuse me again. And next thing I wanted to show you is let's look at proof stuff. I'm going to go ahead and log out here. So proofs can be created and viewed from either your on-site system. Okay, so that's one way to do it. But proofs can also be managed directly from a web browser, and you can create them from a web browser. So you do not have to have the on-site system to do proofs. If you just want to do proofs and you don't want all this other stuff that on-site does, you can do that. So let me just kind of show you. If I log into proof stuff, I'm going to log in. This is not for your customers login. This is just for employees at your company, users. And this is where I would set up my users. I have all my settings in here. So this is where I would set up my logo. This is where I would set up. Do I want to capture signatures? Remember, I showed you that time zone. This is where you'd set up your kind of your branding. If I go to email, this is where we'd set up those follow-up emails I told you. So we send them 1 hour, 2 hours, and 3 hours. You probably don't want to do that. You probably want to send them a little bit spaced out more. But we have a first reminder, we have a second reminder, we have a third reminder, final. And so these are the increasingly urgent emails that the system is automatically going to send. You don't have to send them. Um, and if I go in here to advanced search, I can view all my open proofs. And this is where I can see all of my proofs in the system that are open. So I can scroll through here and I can see there's the DC Special Olympics initial design. I can open it and I can see here what it looked like. This isn't one that we created on this. or maybe it is one that we created here in this session, but you can see what the customer's seeing. So the point is that you can manage your proofs from the web or from your on-site system, and they can be sent from the web or from your on-site system. So if you're not using on-site, if you're using QuickBooks or something, and you want to send somebody an approval, a proof, you would do that from this web browser, from your web browser. That's how you would do it. And just so you know, if a customer does get a approval, if they get an email approved to them and they're on a mobile device, this is mobile friendly. So when they're looking at the proof, this will bend and contort to fit on a mobile screen. So it's not just for computers. It'll work on tablets and also phones. Obviously, bigger screens are better. Most phones have pretty big screens these days. Okay, so as I mentioned, there's two ways to use ProofStuff. It can be a standalone web-based software, or you can use it from within onsite, and you don't have to pick a method. You can do both of them, so simultaneously. In fact, if you're using the web and you type in your order number, it'll just automatically attach it to the order. So if you're using the web and onsite, and then you go into your onsite system, but you added it from the web, it'll be there when you go into your onsite system. So some of the benefits of proof stuff, and I'm kind of wrapping things up. So if you guys have any questions, I would encourage you to ask them. And I'm going to take some time out here in a minute to uh, to do that. And we have one more. Don't leave yet, because we have one more little question we're going to ask you in the poll. Proof stuff benefits: a simple email to your customer with no attachments. That's how you get them the approval. It's a consistent and professional presentation. What do we mean by that? It's branded, and all your staff can do the proofs that look very similar, especially if you're using stock emails. Automatic and escalating customer reminders to act. So if they're not responding to something, they're automatically going to get pinged. Hey, go ahead and get back to us on this. You and your customer are going to get notification when the customer acts on an approval. So if they approve or decline it, you're both going to get notifications. So that means that you'll know what to take it to the next step. You have complete customer accountability, including a signature, date and time stamp, and a computer ID if you want that much information. We recommend you turn all that on, but that's what you have there. A little bit about ShopWorks, the company, very briefly. We've been in business for 25 years. We only sell and make software for the embellished product industry. Who does that mean? That decorated apparel, promotional products, awards and promotions, digital printing. I think I mentioned fulfillment and more. So if you're somebody who takes something, puts a logo on it, and resells it, chances are our software is going to work very well for you. All of our software is designed, supported, and serviced in the USA. We are proud of our service record. We actually have people that, when you need to, you can talk to them on important things. You can talk to them, and I think you'll find our support is pretty excellent, and we have references to that effect as well. So let me go ahead and launch my last poll, and then I'm going to start answering questions. So let me go to my. I closed my polls again. Give me 1 second. Uh, it's tools. Okay, and the question is a very simple one. Would you like a 30-minute presentation, personalized demo of proof stuff or of onsite? If you want a demo of any sort, just say yes. It knows fine too. Either way, you get an entry into the giveaway. So you're going to get an entry into the $100 giveaway, even if you say no. So go ahead and say yes or no. I see about half of you have voted. If you do say yes, we'll reach out to you via email to schedule a time that's going to be convenient for you. And you can just tell us, I want to see proof stuff. I'm not interested in on-site, or I'm interested in on-site and not proof stuff, or I'm interested in both. And we can make it as that presentation as long. Well, typically it lasts, the longest we like to do is an hour, but we can do it a lot shorter. If you just want a 10-minute quick overview, we can do that. So, okay, thanks for voting. We got about half and half there. So I'm going to end that one. Thank you. And now I'm going to start answering questions. So again, if you have questions, go ahead and ask them. Let me get started. Um, The first question is from Nathan. It's a good question. Are notification emails sent from my domain or from a generic domain like at proofstuff.com? They're sent from a generic domain at proofstuff.com. So I think it's no reply at proofstuff. I'm pretty sure on that. So they're going to get just a notification um, from a generic proofstuff address. They're not going to get it from your address. Now we are probably next year we're going to be coming out with another version of Proof Stuff that has some more features in it, and that version might have the ability to have custom domains. But in the current version, it's generic domains. Jen says, shout out to Maria. She's the best. Maria is one of our technicians, people that support people that helps customers. Thank you very much, Jen. And I will relay that to Maria. Thank you. And I'm not making that up. I'm not just saying that. I know people, I could make up these questions and answer them, but I'm not. That's an actual question, something somebody said. Tiffany says, you mentioned briefly about a proof stuff tool where you can see at a quick glance proofs that are approved, open, etc. Where do you go to get there? Okay, good question. If I go over here to onsite and it's down here at the bottom, there's a little tool there. That's a green check mark. That's the proof stuff tool. And I can go in there and it's going to show me as a default uh, all proofs since the beginning of this year, but I could just delete, I can delete that out of there. And here's all open proofs. So this is every single open proof I have, no matter when it was created. I can also do it by customer. Like if I only want to see the ones for DC Special, I could do that. If I only want to see the ones for myself, like let's clear this out. Show me all the proofs for Jay. Show me all the proofs that were approved that were for Jay that were approved since January. Uh, there's only one. So you can type in here in these filter boxes and you can narrow the set of what you want to look at. You can also do searches on proof stuff. So I'm showing you how to do it from on-site, but you can also do it from proof stuff. So hopefully that answered that question. Nicholas asks, how do you add view all proof tool to the bottom of the on-site page? Okay. So what you do there, so Nicholas is a current ShopWorks customer, which is great. If you go over to utilities, this is an employee setting and navigate to employees. I'm going to bring up an employee and you go to access and user tools. And there's a user tool for proof stuff. So you have to enable that. So by picking it, and then you have to edit it and put in the settings. They have settings. Allow users to see proofs created by other users. Allow users to retire their proofs. Allow users to retire proofs made by other users. So you have some controls. If I wanted somebody to only see their approvals, I would just turn all this off, and I would turn, or you could turn everything off. That's more restricted. This is kind of more administrator settings. So that's where you'd set it up. You set up the tool, you pick it, and then you have different settings for them. Uh, Jen asked, can we customize the signature section? I'm not sure what you mean about customize, but no, I don't think there's any customization options there. It's just a signature box that says we require your signature. So I don't think there's any sort of customization on that. And Jen also asked a follow-up, can you turn the reminder emails on and off per order? No, you can't. That's a good question. You cannot do that per order. The reminders will go up automatically system wide. So if something hasn't been acted on, then it's automatically going to get a reminder based on the timing that you set up. There's no way to turn that on and off per order. Let's see. Let's see if any more have come in. Um, yeah, we got a lot. Okay, some good ones here. Um, Christian asks, if a proof is retired, is there any way to see what was sent? Absolutely. So retiring a proof does not get rid of it. It just means that that proof is not can't be acted on anymore. Let me see if I can find one. Uh, partial. Um, so yeah, it's not. I don't have one that's retired. But when you retire a proof, you can still look at it and see what was retired. Yeah, it's not gone permanently. Um, the customer just can't act on it. In fact, the customer can see it too. They just can't act on it. Johnny asks, is it possible to send a PDF mock-up from the attachments of ShopWorks without having to download it onto the desktop and then uploading? Johnny, great question. So we have an attachment section, and in this attachment section, you can have any kind of file possible. So what Johnny's asking is, when I go to create a proof, I can add from the file just on your desktop. I can use it from a design in on-site forms or notes. There's nothing for attachments. And that's kind of probably not going to be possible because attachments can be any kind of file. Proof stuff only allows certain type of files. Uh, I mean, you can actually send any kind of file in a proof, but only the ones certain ones can be previewed. So yeah, it's gonna. I guess we could look at that maybe for a future upgrade, but currently, no, you cannot do that. Um, Nicholas asks, is there a way to get a notification that an automatic reminder email has been sent to the customer? No, there's no um, that does not exist. There's not a way you don't get a notification when the automatic reminder is sent. The only notification you get is when a proof has been acted on. So yeah, that's kind of how that works. Nathan asks, when a proof is approved, who receives it? Yeah, it's sent back to the person who sent it. So whoever sent the proof will get the approval on it. Now you can do multiple people. So if I wanted to email a proof, and notice if I wanted to, I could also email multiple proofs, but you can also have, a copy to and blind copy to address. Oh, let's go back in here. So you do have some other people that can get uh, receive it when you send out the proof. It's not just to one person. Uh, Nathan asks, could you explain again the difference between single, absolute, and multiple proof types? Okay, so yeah, let's do that. So if I go here to add a proof, a single proof, a single approval means that you have to pick one. Basically, essentially, it means you have to pick one. So if I present, let's say I presented two things to someone, single is either or. They're picking a single option. Absolute is everything. So they're picking everything on the approval. And then multiple allows them to say yes or no to every single thing that's on the approval. So that's kind of the three different options that you have. Um, Jen asked, would the artist email customers separately or work through proof stuff on art edits? No, I mean, most of our customers who are using proof stuff, they're sending all their approvals through proof stuff. It doesn't matter if it's an artist or a customer service person. And every approval, every proof has, the person who's sending it. So it makes a lot of sense to have any approval on an order should be on that order, but it's done by each individual person. I mean, if you wanted to, you could have one person send all the approvals and they could be like your approval manager, but I don't know of any of our customers that are doing that. And I don't think that I would really kind of wouldn't recommend that as a process. Nicholas asks, I can't see retired proofs through onsite. Can you show how to see it? Yeah, I mean, you'll just see it here on the order. So if you have a retired proof here, let me see. I don't think it'll let me retire it. Yeah. I can't retire it because it's been acted on. So let me just add a proof real quick. Let me just do one. I'll just do a test proof. Oh. So I'll add a file. Just do here. I'll do this design. I'll release it. Now let's say, oh gosh, I just realized I made a mistake. No, I don't really want to send it to the customer, so I'm not going to send it. So, oh, I don't want to send it. I made a mistake. Now let me retire that. And when I retire it, it just has a different look. So it's still connected to the order. It just looks different. And if I go to my proof stuff tool, I can also look at show me all retired ones that have been created this year. So there's the one I just created, test proof. So yeah, it'll be in your system. Um, this is as default going to go to open, but you can change it to whatever you want. So it should show in your system and it should show connected to each order. If it's not, then that's something for tech support, but I don't, that might not even be possible. So, all right, that's all the questions. Great bunch of questions. You guys have been a good group. Thank you for participating in the polls. Like I said, we'll send out an email with the link to the video, and we will also award the gift card tomorrow. So thanks again for your guys' time. We're gonna have more webinars coming up, so keep your eyes peeled for those, and have a great rest of your week. Thanks again.